Good morning. My name's Carl Dakin, and this is the Successful Funding Show. This show is all about raising funding, and ordinarily we commonly talk about small businesses, startups, and small businesses growing up. But we talk also about funding for charities, government programs, community projects, anything that needs more money, more resources to make the world a better place. Because I want to get up tomorrow and I'd like for everything to be a little bit better. With me today on the show is Dave Dubow. And Dave has a company that helps businesses find people who will write checks. So we're going to dive into that. And without further ado, Dave, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business. And then we'll let you basically run the show while I sit back and have a cup of coffee.
Carl, thanks so much for having me on the show. It was my pleasure to interview you last week on my podcast, Property Profits Real Estate Podcast. So these days, Carl, I work primarily with real estate capital raisers, so syndicators, fund managers, those kind of folks. But what we're going to be showing here today applies to anybody who's looking to connect with high value people, whether that's for raising capital or for doing business or whatever it is. It's a very new approach to connecting with your ideal investor or client avatar. So I've been in the marketing space since 1993. Just you name it, I've seen it, I've tried it. Some things have worked really well. Some things have crashed and burned for me. I mean, you name it. It's kind of all over the place there, Carl. And real estate wise, I've been in the real estate game since 2003. These days, I realized kind of early days I suck as an operator. That's not my best use of my time. So these days, and for the last dozen years, I've really been focusing on the marketing side of things, working with real estate capital raisers to connect them with investors.
Excellent. So we're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about raising funding for real estate projects. And you're going to share your knowledge with our audience about everything that they need to know. So they'll walk away geniuses, and they'll understand that your experience, no matter how great their experience is, greater than theirs. So you are a resource that they can draw upon when they need to know more than they already know.
Well, I don't want to promise that they're going to come away from this as a genius. I sure as heck am not a genius, Carl. You're pretty darn smart, though. So yeah, they hang around with you long enough. There you go.
Yeah. Well, the rule of thumb there is everybody goes, well, how did you get to know so much about raising money? I go, 46 years later, as you described it, a few wins, a lot of losses, learning more from your failures than from your wins. You build up a collection of knowledge, and just when you think you are maybe approaching genius status, the market shifts, and what you knew is probably obsolete, not worth anything anymore.
And it just seems to be happening faster and faster these days, doesn't it, Carl? It drives me nuts sometimes.
It does. I was on ChatGPT this morning drafting a package for recruiting fans into a new sports organization that I'm working with, the Renaissance League. And it was, there are times when ChatGPT looks like the greatest new tool in the toolbox, and there's other times where I'd pull my hair out if I had any left.
It's so dumb sometimes is the problem, right? And if you sometimes it's so brilliant, but if you rely on that being the norm, then it's going to screw you over. Because exactly yesterday I was working with some stuff. It's like, you're not following my instructions. You're making stuff up. You're inventing stuff out of the ether. So you have to really double check things.
Well, it also sometimes if you ask the wrong prompt, it gets stuck. It's kind of like that weird relative of yours who gets off on a tangent and won't get off of that topic. And you're like, we left that topic 10 minutes ago. Will you join the conversation and come back and talk to us? And it says, no, I'm going to go off and continue talking about this. And I go, okay.
Reboot. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Awesome. So, well, let's have some fun. Carl, I'm getting old and forgetful. So I've put together a little presentation for your gang, which number one, I think will be more interesting for them to watch than my ugly mug. And number two, will help me from forgetting all the cool stuff I want to share with the audience.
Okay, so Dave brought multimedia with him, which means he elevated himself amongst the common guests on my show. So there's probably an extra gold star somewhere in there for him at the end of the program.
Well, thank you. Don't give me gold stars till we go through the presentation. If it doesn't crash, then I get a gold star. If it crashes, then forget about it. So perfect. Carl, can I roll with this? And please, Carl, have a cup of coffee, but anytime, if you've got a question, please jump in. If you've got a comment, I might have a question for you as well. So try to make this as interactive as we
Don't
can.
worry about that, Dave. I interrupt everybody, including myself. So,
So this is called Podcast Your Way to $100,000 Investors. And this is just an amazingly easy way to find your dream investors, book calls with them without chasing after them, without pitching, without doing endless content creation. So whatever you're doing, if you're watching this, if you're looking to raise capital, if you're looking to connect with high value clients, this definitely applies to you. So what I put together here today, Carl, is a little agenda. So we're going to go over what the heck is what I call a capital conversation and conversion podcast. What are some of the big challenges facing capital raisers these days, especially in the real estate space? Because that's where I've got the most experience there, Carl. Three keys to a capital conversation conversion podcast, and how to go from friendly interview to investor. And I'm going to actually walk you through a recording of a real live series of conversations that shows exactly how this works. And if anybody's interested, at the end, I'll show you how to get a free copy of my book, How to Get 20 Accredited Investor Meetings every month without cold calling, networking, or chasing people. All right, so that's what this is all about. And I'll show you how to get that free book at the end. It'll go through, I mean, there's only so much we can cover in this short conversation. So that book goes through the whole process much more in depth. All right, does that sound good, Carl?
That sounds excellent.
Let's do it. First things first, what is what I call a capital conversation and conversion podcast? It is what I call a high ticket podcast. It's a lead generation machine disguised as a talk show, right? So kind of like what you and I are doing right now, Carl. We're having an interview with somebody, but this one is built to book your dream investors as your guests and your dream investors as your audience at the same time. So here's some examples of some of the clients we've worked with. All of these folks are in the real estate space. And here's the interesting thing. If you notice, none of their podcasts are real estate focused. And there's a reason for that I'll explain in a minute. But this is an example of people who are going after high income, high net worth investors. That's who they want to attract, these accredited investors. So we've created a show that appeals to those people to come on as the guests, and it appeals to those people to listen as the audience as well. Now, as opposed to traditional podcasts, we're not trying to compete against Joe Rogan. We're not trying to grow an audience of 200 million listeners. That would be nice, but that's not the primary goal. It's about deal flow. It's about connecting with your ideal avatar, having those conversations, creating that rapport, shortcutting that relationship, shortcutting that know, like, and trust factor without chasing people, without, being that slimy feeling kind of used car salesman stereotype, which no offense against car salesmen. I love them, but you know what I mean. We've got that image stuck in our mind. And it is an easy, very simple, straightforward way to turn interviews into investors. Okay. So, Carl, I know you've been around this a long time yourself, and I've been in this for quite a while as well. In the last couple of years, I have interviewed hundreds of real estate capital raisers, especially multifamily syndicators and fund managers. And things are very tough. Like raising capital right now is very, very difficult, especially in the real estate space. Lots of reasons for that. 2020, 2021, even into 2022, it was go, go, go. And the prices were going crazy. And, if you could fog a mirror, you could get into a deal and get people 2 or 3x on their money in 18 to 24 months. And so people just kind of rushed into real estate syndications, and it was all great until it wasn't, right? So when the interest rates went up and went back to normal, actually, because I mean, when you're talking less than 2%, that is not normal real estate rates, but everybody thought they were, and everybody thought it would last forever, and yada yada. So when real estate interest rates went back to kind of normal, went high, well, and people are on variable rate mortgages, doubles or triples their cost of debt. At the same time that interest rates are going up, insurance rates are going crazy, property taxes, utilities are going up. And then demand, and then prices are going down, right? So it was go, go, go. So anyhow, it just created a perfect storm of a disaster. So you've got all of these LPs, these investors who got spoiled on doubling and tripling their money in record short times. Now their money is stuck in deals that are either flatlined, or they're getting cash calls, or the deals are going bankrupt and they're losing all their money. Like this is happening a lot right now, Carl. So the existing pool of investors is burned. They're not even once bitten, once, twice, 3 times bitten, very, very shy. So it's pulling teeth trying to raise capital from those same people the same way, right? And a lot of the normal lead generation ways that worked well in 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, they aren't working so well anymore. And bottom line is we need to go after a new group of people in a new way, right? So there's the famous red ocean and blue ocean thing. I think that's what it's called, right? So right now we're definitely in a red ocean when it comes to raising capital. It's very difficult. It's very choppy waters, and going after those fish who are not hungry for our bait, the same kind of bait that we had before, is very, very difficult. So we need to go do things, go after a new batch of fish, a new batch of investor prospects, and we need to do it in a new way. And that's where the whole podcast things comes into play. Because traditionally, what most of us are doing with sales and marketing is saying, hey, look at me, look how awesome I am, look how awesome my deal is, look how much money you're going to make, look, me. That's what it's usually all about. And the challenge with that is, it's kind of like, I don't know if you remember back in elementary school gym class, hoping that you're going to get picked for the team, right? That's where, look at me, pick me. And it's just really, really crappy positioning. And these days it really doesn't work very well. What are your thoughts about this so far, Carl? Is that resonating?
Well, when you threw up the picture of everybody against the wall, I remember dodgeball and being a victim of big guys who would hurl a ball at 100 miles an hour, and your choice was to die or get maimed. So, but yeah, I'm now recovering from that deja vu moment, and now we're back to picking teams.
Everybody has that deja vu moment, Carl. That's the thing. And then we also have the deja vu moment if we weren't particularly studly and athletic, of not being picked first for the teams, and just desperately hoping we get picked. So I'm going to suggest let's flip the switch on this. Instead of hoping that we get picked, why don't we do the picking? Why don't we cherry pick the exact kind of people that we want to work with and focus on them? Why don't we cherry pick these people? And then instead of chasing after them, let's find something that appeals to them and attracts them to us instead, right? So that's what this whole podcasting thing is about. Again, a little bit about myself and my background. I've been in and around marketing for decades now, not quite as long as Carl, but 32 years. You name it. I've seen it. I've done it. I've invested over $400,000 in my own marketing education. I've taken my own different companies from zero to, top in their fields in a couple of different markets. Years ago, I was working with a seminar company up here in Canada, had $1 million a year marketing budget, helped take them from 3 employees to 128 and 7 branch offices and yada, yada, all this kind of stuff. And, but here's the embarrassing admission, Carl. About a dozen years ago, when I decided to kind of go out on my own as a consultant, I kind of struggled with my own marketing, believe it or not. It's kind of the what is it? The cobbler's kid with holes in his shoes or whatever, right? So, I mean, I was trying different stuff and tried, figuring out the whole online marketing thing and paid ads. And every time I came close to figuring it out, they changed the algorithms and the rules on me, and Google slaps
Right.
and this and that and everything. Everything's just changing all the time. And tried doing events and joint ventures, and different things worked and different things didn't, but it was pretty hit and miss until I started focusing a lot on my podcast. Now, I started my podcast back in 2018, did it like everybody, hoping to interview the gurus, hoping they would share that with their audience, hoping I would build up a huge audience of people, hoping that some of them figured I was a smart guy, hoping that some of them would reach out to me and we'd end up doing business. There was a lot of hoping, not much happening. Until about 3.5, 4 years ago, I was listening to a podcast and I heard a young guy, Jamie Atkinson, credit where credit is due, talk about something called podcast closing. He said, "Hey, I don't worry about the audience. I don't worry about, being seen as a rock star. The whole goal of my podcast is to interview the exact people I want to work with as clients, make them look good, make them feel good, make them shine, start that conversation, and go from interview into discovery call into client." And I do that at scale. Instead of 1 interview a week, my goal is to do 5 or 10 interviews a week, right? So do a lot more than what I'm doing. And when I heard this, the light bulb went off. I said, "That's brilliant." And so I jumped in and started doing that myself. And it took a lot of kind of trial and error to get that figured out. And I took coaching from this guy, but it was all a kind of a do-it-yourself, had to figure it out. It took me months and months to get everything set up and get everything going. But this is a fairly recent calendar screenshot of my calendar. So these days I do my interviews on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And you can see that all these red ones, these are interviews that are booked. And then from the interview, the goal is to book a follow-up discovery call. So all of these green appointments, those are either first-time follow-up discovery calls or second calls, that sort of thing. So it's all sales conversations generated from the podcast interviews. So again, I attract my ideal avatar to my show. I interview them, make them look good, feel good, sound good, and then I convert them into a discovery call to discuss how I might be able to help them with what we do. Is that making sense, Carl?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We talked about the 3 keys of raising funding, and the first one is to establish a relationship of trust. And a lot of people don't understand, that typically takes time. It's not a one and done kind of a thing. Where investors are not ATMs where you can punch a button and money spills out. And I really like the fact that in that initial contact with the person, you're offering them something of benefit to them that costs them nothing. So this is in some ways a harmless, no downside benefit to them. And anytime you start talking with an investor where you talk to them about them, you're going to build that relationship quicker and a higher degree of trust. So I'm appreciating everything I'm hearing. So go ahead, Dave.
Perfect. Well, thanks for your input, Carl. That means a lot. That's for sure. So why does this whole Capital Conversation Conversion podcast work so well to connect with your ideal investors? Well, one big reason is status. Just like you were saying, Carl, like a lot of these people, they don't get much recognition. They can be super successful, like very successful business people, executives, entrepreneurs, professionals, doctors, lawyers, all that kind of stuff. They can be very, very successful. But guess how many kudos they get at work? Like 0. Guess how many kudos they get at home? Not many, right? So when we invite them to be a guest on our podcast, when we reach out and say, "Hey, Carl, I think you're swell. I think you're a really smart guy. I would love to have you on my show. I would love to feature you as a featured guest on my show. Talk about your success, talk about what you've learned. That is a real pat on the back for somebody. And here's the crazy thing, Carl. You and I are used to this podcasting thing, but most people have never been invited to be a guest on a podcast. So it's a big deal for them. And here's the other thing I love about podcasting. I'm sure you've seen this, Carl. When you're the host of the show, your positioning is excellent. Like I've had very successful syndicators and multifamily property guys, people with billion-dollar portfolios come on my show. And financially speaking, they're quite a few notches above me. Okay. However, when we get together on the show, I'm the host. They see me as the authority, as the leader, as the alpha, to put it in that perspective, when they come on the show. And I quickly put them at ease. We relax. We have a good time. We have a good conversation. So I see it's a massive shortcut to creating that relationship and creating some rapport. Is it okay if I share some examples here, Carl?
Yeah. Hold on just a second. We do have some people in our live audience. I want to shout out to them. So Syed is with us this morning. He totally agrees with me because I'm totally agreeing with Dave. So that's a cascade agreement there. Thanks for chipping in with the comments, Syed. I appreciate that. Welcome everybody in the audience to also ask questions of Dave. We have with us a true expert on this form of marketing into real estate. Here's your chance to take advantage of this opportunity and ask him questions while we're on the air. So go ahead, Dave.
Perfect. Thanks very much for that, Carl. Yeah, welcome everybody. And any questions you have, Carl, I'll let you keep an eye on the chat box because I get distracted easily. So here's some examples of some of our clients and just kind of the impact having that additional authority has had for them in their businesses.
Guests are telling me, they say, hey, telling me that they know some of the people that I've interviewed because it's all Orange County. Getting feedback when they're saying, hey, you know what? I listen to your podcast when I'm driving and when I'm doing this and when I'm doing that. I'm like, this is becoming like where it's like people are like listening to it. Like it's a real thing now.
Nice.
So that gets me pumped up.
Well, I got to say, I've already gotten quite a few compliments and stuff. It's been interesting seeing people out in public come up to me now.
Big testimonial story for you. I got a random LinkedIn message a few weeks ago from a guy that said, hey, I've been listening to your podcast. You know, you seem to really understand like real estate. But he ended up asking if he could invest with us. So $75,000. Yeah, it was just like completely out of the blue from him listening to the podcast.
So it really positions you as the authority at the same time that you are positioning your guest as an expert as well. So it works both ways. And then having the podcast, again, this is a great way to pick and choose exactly who you want to invite to have as a guest on your show, as opposed to most marketing, which is spray and pray and hope people kind of pick you. And then you kind of have to figure out if they fit your criteria or not. There's a lot more work here. So this is kind of nice. You kind of pick and choose. You give them what they're looking for, which is recognition, free PR, marketing, value. You're leading with the giving hand. It makes it easy for them to say yes. So again, it really kicks in the whole reciprocity thing because you're giving them something they want, right? Exposure, marketing, credibility, status, all of that, which makes them much more open to talking with you about what you do as well. All right. And then even with a short interview, Carl, this is a great way to build connection because like you said, it's very, very true. And I think it was Dale Carnegie that said, right, the more you get a person talking about themselves, the better they feel about you. I'm butchering that, but that's the idea, right? So this is a great way to build that connection. You're interviewing them. They're doing most of the talking. You're really looking to make them look good, feel good, and sound good. And that helps with creating that connection, even a very short period of time. And go ahead.
Yeah, hold on. Go back to the last slide if you can. So this is a very important thing for those of us who are short of time. Dave is building trust in 20 minutes. This is not 4 hours on the golf course, doing 18 holes, which is another way of building trust. I mean, if you have the time and you can play golf way better than me, then you can invite somebody out to the golf course. You can pay the green fees. You can pay for the cocktails afterwards, and you'll get potentially to the same level, but maybe even still lower than the level of trust that Dave's establishing in 20 minutes. So it's a very extraordinary, efficient use of time.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of it that way, Carl, but you're absolutely right. Because on the golf course, yeah, that's fantastic. But how much are you actually talking in those 4 hours versus competing against each other? Right? So,
I'm not a good competitor in golf, so I'm
neither.
losing no matter how we're playing.
But you're right. It's very, very efficient. This is one of the things our clients like because they're busy. So the way we
Right.
structure this whole thing, Carl, is really it only takes 2 hours twice a week to meet and greet and connect with up to 6 of your ideal prospects because you have these interviews back to back, 40-minute blocks. So 2 hours, you can do 3 of these interviews with lots of time to spare. And so it's very, very efficient the way that we do it, the way that we recommend it as well. And then when you're having the interview, it's very easy to let that conversation naturally flow into what you do, like what your specialty is. So in our case, with capital raisers, real estate capital raisers, their specialty is helping people get a superior return on their investment via real estate as the vehicle, right? So they tend to start talking a little bit about what the guest's thoughts are about passive income, creating income outside of their job, outside of their business, additional income, what they're planning to do or what they're thinking of when it comes to retirement or when they don't want to be working so hard and yet want to keep that level of income high without preaching about real estate, without ramming real estate down their throat. They just start the conversation, create a little bit of an open loop there, and then circle back after the interview while they're still on Zoom together and invite the person into a discovery call to find out more, right? So it doesn't feel salesy, doesn't feel awkward, doesn't feel pushy, right? So again, just reiterating this, there are lots of challenges capital raisers are facing these days. Podcasts can solve a lot of them. So one of the big challenges trying to go out for cold calling and cold leads and expensive ads, right? So good old digital marketing. If you get it figured out, God bless you. But realistically, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, Carl, it takes about $100,000 of experimentation to get your paid ads working properly, which, if you don't have a big budget or you're a little bit tight these days, that is pretty tough. And even then it's a churn kind of thing. You're creating maybe lots of leads, but most of them are pretty crappy. Then you have to filter through them. There's a lot of work involved with doing it that way. So a podcast, you don't have to worry about the ad budget. You're cherry picking the exact people you want to have on your show. You don't have to convince them. You're inviting them and you're having real conversations with people that are actually excited to meet you, Carl. This is the big difference. Instead of convincing somebody to get on a sales call with you, they're looking forward to being interviewed by you and starting that conversation, right? And I don't know about you, Carl, but since the advent of social media, it has made our lives a little bit more challenging because now this whole content creation thing that we're supposed to be doing, right? And trying to keep up with the Joneses with content creation, especially with AI stuff out there right now, it can be exhausting. It can just feel like a huge waste of time, right? But it's important. So here's a great way is to leverage your podcast. Your podcast can create all the content you ever need. Like you can slice and dice reels out of this. You can take the transcript, create posts, blog articles, LinkedIn articles, Facebook posts, Instagram posts. You can just reuse and recycle this content over and over again. And again, you're doing these interviews on a regular basis. So really your guests are creating content for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense to me. Syed had a question. I'm going to throw it up on the screen here for you, Dave, and I'm going to let you answer it, and then I may take a different slant. Depends on how you respond to the question.
Well, I help B2B industry with IT consultancy. What could be the best way apart from a podcast? As this is not possible for me now, by the way. You know what, Syed, I've been focusing on the podcast myself for the last number of years. This is my whole shtick. This is my whole thesis, if you will. I mean, everything that I had on the screen before, you can try, anywhere from creating a book and a lead magnet, paid ads, doing joint ventures, direct mail. I mean, it really depends on what your offer is. So it's hard to say without knowing a little bit more about what you do. And
Well, let me jump in on it, Dave, at this point, because this is my live stream podcast that the successful funding that I put on once a week. And I've got to tell you that there aren't really that many obstacles to putting on your own podcast. Now, clearly, I've got studio lighting, I've got a great microphone and so forth, but there are a lot of places today, and I don't know where you're at, but there are libraries down the street from my house that have a broadcast studio built into the library. There's different incubators that also have podcast studios, and so you may be able to borrow those, or they may be free for your use. And at that point, you've got all the, I call it equipment and gear that you need in order to do a podcast. Then beyond that, I do mine as a live stream where it's not edited. It is what it is, on using Restream as a studio, which is about $25 a month on a fee. But then I can broadcast it and do dual broadcast it to LinkedIn, YouTube. So beyond that, LinkedIn doesn't charge a fee. YouTube doesn't charge a fee. So I'm basically getting my word out in a couple major distribution media channels where I'm paying for a Restream studio fee. I can borrow a podcasting booth from somebody, and so my costs aren't that high. So when you say it's not possible for you right now, I think that might be a topic for another conversation about what you can do to put podcasting into your repertoire of how you talk to people. Because as much as I've invested, and I know Dave is invested in his podcast, you don't have to go that far that quick. And part of it is just getting started, learning how to do it, setting the systems up. And once they're in place, it's not that complicated or that hard, and definitely not that expensive.
yeah, very, very well said. Good points there, Carl. And you can even just start with Zoom if you don't want to get as fancy pants as Carl there with doing the live streaming and all that kind of good stuff. Zoom and a YouTube channel, and both of those are free. And even on your laptop, all of our clients do their podcasts. They do not have studios. They've got a spare bedroom or their home office or their office. That's where they're doing theirs from, just like I do. So yeah, you don't have to overcomplicate it. It doesn't need to be anything crazy like that. Okay, good stuff. Shall we continue there, Carl?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So where are we here? Problem number 3 is wasting time on cold outreach or networking. So a lot of capital raisers do that. They go out and schmooze, go play golf, all that kind of good stuff. These days, chasing people down on LinkedIn, joining masterminds, attending all these Zoom calls, hoping to meet somebody who's qualified. So again, a lot of spinning your wheels, a lot of wasted time. I'm going to suggest that it's way more productive for you to cherry pick who you want to interview on your show, block out 2 hours twice a week. So it's 4 hours, less than 10% of your work week applied to meeting the exact kind of people that you would love to do business with, right? So just book those kind of folks on your show. So how does this work in practice? So step number 1 is build your show. And I'm talking about a podcast, but this could be a YouTube channel, same kind of idea. It's basically your platform. Carl, you're doing a lot of this on LinkedIn, right? So, I mean, this is kind of your platform, but it's the same idea. It's an interview show, and make sure the show appeals to your target avatar, your ideal client, as the guest and as the audience. So you notice all 3 of these folks are in the real estate space. All three of these podcasts have nothing to do with real estate, right? Driven, Unscripted Success, Flex Forward Podcast, Orange County Power Players, right? It's all focused on who their target avatar is, not real estate. So that's step number one. Create this podcast that appeals to those folks. Step number two is find them and invite them to be guests on your show. So the way we do this is we do a lot of LinkedIn outreach, find people that way, connect with them, do some data scraping. So we got people that reach out via LinkedIn and then email and then phone calls. And again, it's not pitching them anything. It's inviting them to be a guest on the show. So once you get that dialed in, it's pretty straightforward to get 5 or 6 of these every single week. 20 a month is the target. That's a very reasonable number that you can be going after. And then step number 3 is to choreograph your show in such a way that it naturally flows from interview to creating curiosity, getting that person booked in on what I call a discovery call, a sales call, and then getting in the terms of capital raising or fundraising, getting a warm commitment from them. So it might be a little bit too much in the capital raise to go from interview to discovery call to $100,000 check right away, but we can get a warm commitment in the case of syndications and fund managers. Like, hey, Carl, I don't have a deal on the go right now, but if you're interested, if this sounds like something interesting, would you like me to add you to our VIP investor list so that you get first dibs when we do have a deal? Would you like that, Carl? Perfect.
Sure.
Okay. Carl's going to say yes, right? So then we get them, we go through and we fill out your know your client or know your investor questionnaire, reconfirm that they qualify as a credit investor, find out if we were to find a great deal for them, how much would they feel comfortable investing? Where would the capital be coming from? How long would it take them to, you can find out all this information that you need. And then you've got them plunked into your system, and then drip out some content with them on a regular basis to educate them a little bit more. And then when you do have a deal, or at least wait a few weeks, circle back to them. I'll come back and say, hey, Carl, remember a few weeks ago when we met, you said, if I had a really good deal to let you know, I've got one I think that might be right up your alley. Would you like to take a look at it? Boom. Then that's where you book them. That's where you show them the actual deal and see if they're in or not. Is that making sense, Carl?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things you can do at that point where once they're talking with you, once you have a relationship, however minimal, you can put them on that mail list. You can maybe have them learn a little bit, send them some tutorials about investing in, say, multifamily versus a fix and flip, things where you're giving value to them and solidifying your relationship with them and becoming a trusted source of information. So when you do put that deal on the table, it's not standing all alone. It's part of this ongoing thread and dialogue that you have with the person.
Super important. You're absolutely right, Carl. Yeah, that drip of educational content, showing them more about what you're doing, showing them case studies, showing them testimonials if you have them, that sort of thing is super, super powerful. Makes a lot of sense. Again, you guys, just a reminder, I'm going to show you how to get a free copy of my book at the end of the presentation, which is coming up pretty soon here. So how do we actually turn these interviews into investors? So Carl, I told you I was going to walk you through like a real life kind of example for my own business, which isn't raising capital, but it's working with clients. So it all connects. It makes sense here. So step number 1 is we do the actual interview with the person. So before we even start the interview, we break the ice, we put them at ease, let them know what we're going to be doing, remind them to stick around at the end of the interview because we need to do a little bit of housekeeping, get a screenshot, that kind of stuff. And then we jump into the interview itself. And the whole goal is to make it all about them, make them shine, make them look good, feel good, and sound good and feel great. That is the goal, right? That's what it's a friendly interview. And then what I want to do towards the end of the interview is ask a few questions that relate to what we do. So in my case, I help capital raisers raise capital. So towards the end of the interview, I start talking a little bit about raising capital, what their thoughts are about this. I just kind of want to get the gist of it. So here's an example from one of my interviews. We'll just kind of see how this works in real time. What do you find works best for you these days in 2025 for connecting with and enrolling new investors into your opportunities into your properties?
Well, it has changed a lot. Early on, when things were booming, we went to real estate events. Getting back to meeting them, maybe attending networking events, pivot, because now I've had to learn to start doing social media.
So there, start ask, just kind of pique that curiosity, get that question going. So we're talking a little bit about my particular area of specialty there. So that's that, creating that curiosity hook. And then at the end of the recording, again, do a little bit of the housekeeping and circle back to that question, create some curiosity, and then book that follow-up discovery call or whatever, that sales call, right? Whatever you're going to be doing. So there's an example, same gentleman, the interview has ended. And after we've taken a little snapshot and all that kind of stuff, I asked the question, right?
Yeah.
How'd that feel for you, Nick?
Good.
So here's what's going to happen next, Nick. This should be coming out on all of our different platforms in the next 4 or 5 weeks. We'll give you a heads up when that comes out. So would it be helpful for you if I had my team slice and dice some reels out of this for you?
Oh, that would be awesome, because that's been my pain point. I know I need to do it.
Okay. And then I'll have my other assistant take the transcript of our conversation, put it through Chat GPT, and crank out a LinkedIn article for you, a Facebook post for you. If your daughters get you on Instagram, we'll have an Instagram thing there for you. Would that be helpful?
Oh, that would be awesome.
So Nick, it sounds like things are going well for you with the capital raising side of things. Is that 100% dialed in, or is there still some room for improvement there?
Oh, hell, there's always room for improvement.
Well, the reason I was asking about the capital raising side of things, Nick, is we're doing something kind of interesting these days with some syndicators and fund managers using a podcast to get them connected with accredited investors. Get it going to where you're meeting 4 or 5 or 6 new accredited investors every single week, like clockwork. Is that something you might be interested in just taking a look at?
That sounds very, very intriguing.
So there you see, do the housekeeping, provide even more value, and then circle back, hook into that curiosity, see if they're interested in finding out more. So it's really important to get that hook in there, right? And then step number 3 is we have that discovery call and convert. So in my case, in our case, if we're doing this for capital raising, my idea of that first conversion is to get a warm commitment, right? Going. So this is a little bit different, but here's an example. This is with Nick, just after having done all this. Yeah.
Well, I think we want to move forward. We just got to set up how to sign up. When do we officially start? When does the clock start?
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations.
I
I
appreciate
look forward to working with you. That's great. So here's how it'll work, you guys. So then getting them enrolled, in our case, getting that warm commitment. And again, it's the nice thing about this, Carl, getting back to my calendar, I have consistency now. Instead of things being roller coaster and hit and miss, I know exactly what I'm doing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'm talking to my ideal prospects. And my goal is see if there's a match, book them into a follow-up discovery call. Right? That's what it's all about. Get those sales calls. And that's what we do for our syndicator clients as well. So here's an example. This is Tim. This is his calendar booked out with interviews for 2 solid months. He does them 2 days a week. So we got him 47 interviews with his ideal avatar over a 2-month period. And just, that's what it's all about. And here's our friend Nick after his first week of podcasting. First week as a professional podcaster go.
It went well. I was pretty happy. The first guy that signed up, I actually knew him. He's doing fund management now. We're going to see if they're interested in maybe doing a fund to fund with it. His assistant reached out. They want to review the deal with me. The 3 guys I had yesterday were all interested. Although, I got a call with him on Monday. So 2 of the 3, I got follow-up calls. Yeah, and he wants to, but he just wanted, his wife is an orthodontist and makes large sums of money.
So what I'm hearing you say, Nick, is out of the 4 calls that you've had this week, 3 of them are doing some sort of a follow-up, and the 4th one's interested. He just needs to get his wife's schedule organized.
I'm like, did they stage these? All 4 of these worked out so well. 3 on Thursday, following Wednesday 3.
Wow.
I'm booked on all my times until August 28th.
It sounds like you're getting some really good traction early on. So
we've been happy. It's good. Let's keep it rolling.
So that's what it's all about. Carl, there's all sorts of, there's all sorts of ways to leverage even more for your podcast. So in addition to connecting with your ideal investor avatar, it's a great way to connect with potential joint venture partners, borrow other people's audiences, right? So you can get exposure to them. Here's an example of one gentleman I had on the show. He offers coaching or training to real estate investors. I offer my services. He emailed his list about my thing. I emailed my list about his thing. It was a good cross-promotional type thing there. It's a great way to get on other people's podcasts. That's how you and I got connected. That's how I got here today, is by having you on my podcast. And we talked about your show, and you were kind enough to invite me on yours as well. So this become kind of a major thing for me as well, to get their word out more. So typically 2 or 3 times a week, I'm doing some sort of a podcast swap with other podcasters, and a fantastic way to meet really hard to reach people. So here's a great example. Is one of our clients, Matt, who's, a successful syndicator, but he's not at $1 billion level, but we connected him with $1 billion guy. So have a listen to this.
The leads that have come through have been really good. The one guy, I'm trying to grab a coffee with him this afternoon, but he runs a $1 billion fund. They've been such cool guests.
He ended up not only grabbing a coffee with that gentleman, they became friends. Not tight friends, but good acquaintances. They have coffee on a regular basis, and they're working towards starting to do something together as well. He wouldn't have met him if he hadn't invited him on the podcast. And here's the cool thing, Carl, that $1 billion fund guy had never been invited to be on a podcast before. The $1 billion fund guy came on Matt's show. He was all nervous at the beginning. He was really quite a little bit, had stage fright. So Matt put him at ease, calmed him down, got everything going. They had a great conversation and just really kickstarted that whole relationship. So really that's the choice. You can go from, struggling to get leads, to get qualified, really good quality leads, or you can use a podcast to cherry pick and get 15 or 20 of these every single month, like clockwork. That's what that's all about. So again, there's a lot more to go through in all of this. That's why I put together this book. And let's see. So if you go to 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com, you can get a copy of the book. Let me see if I can put that in the chat as well. Yeah, let me just grab this. See if the chat thing works. How do I do chat? I'll put it in the private chat, and then maybe you can share that if you would there, Carl. So you can go to 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. And when you go there, of course, that's not where my screen's not working. You can just put your name and your email address in there, and that will get you instant access to the book. And then when you're on the book page, number 3, which is not showing up on my
correct, Dave? The 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, so that's preserved forever in this recording, so everybody will see this for the next 1,000 years. We'll know they can go here and get the book. So,
well, too bad they can't see image number 3. I don't know how that crashed, but anyhow, go to the site. You opt in, you'll get instant access to the book, and then if you want to book a chat with me to see how this might apply for you, how we might be able to help you, kind of brainstorm how a podcast could work with you in your business, then you can book a call after that. And I'm happy to jump on a quick Zoom call with you for 30 to 40 minutes, brainstorm this, explain how our services work if you're interested in them, and how we can help you with the done for you service around this, because that's what we do. We build out podcasts for our clients. We fill them up with their ideal avatar, with their ideal guests. We guarantee them 20 a month, and we help them convert those interviews into investors or clients. And we take care of all of the production stuff, editing, uploading, content creation. All of that's done for you. There you go, Carl. That's my song and dance, my friend.
that's a great song and dance. And it really is interesting how the myth, I will call it, that we often see out there is, create a generic offering, pitch it to everybody who breathes in hopes that you're going to find that investor candidate. And what Dave is presenting here sings to my motivated money approach, which is he is identifying those people that you want to be your investor candidates and inviting them to be guests on the show. This means that you have to do some homework, you have to do some prep to figure out exactly who it is that you want to be on your show. But once you get that analysis, so to speak, completed, you know who to cherry pick. Now Dave has a complete system that is available to you to go to these people and offer them something of benefit that will get them into a relationship with you that you can draw upon in the future for potential investment. So sign up for the book. And if you're out seriously looking for a constant supply of accredited investors to invest in your deals, your projects as you go forward, here we go. You've got everything you need right here.
Awesome, Carl. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to go back over here and shut down the slideshow so we can see Dave's full face, and that's all good. Yeah, no, it is interesting that unfortunately entrepreneurs may or may not even be good at running their own business yet because they haven't gone through the drill of several failures or startups or successes and so forth. But raising funding is its own skill set. And not everybody is going to be great at it. Not everybody is going to have the time to do it right. But this represents a way in which you can target accredited investors, high net worth individuals, high enough to qualify as an accredited investor. And what I really like, Dave, about what you're offering is you're going beyond the people who show up at angel investor groups, which often appear to be more of a social club than an active way of finding money. You're going out and finding people who are executives, they're successful, and all too often they have zero time. So, getting a conversation with them is hard enough, but getting them to spend time enough with you to develop a relationship is even harder. And you're offering them something of value to them. And as a result, they're willing to talk with you. And once you've opened that door, it's all on you at that point in time to continue to build on that relationship.
And more than willing to talk with us, Carl, they're actually excited to talk with you. They are looking forward to talking with you. It's not something they're begrudgingly doing. It's free marketing. It's like back in the olden days when people would be interviewed on the local TV station or the local radio station. Well, not so old. They still do that, right? But it's that kind of idea via a podcast. So it's something that's very appealing to people.
Right. And I wrote a book a number of years ago called Everyone's an Expert. And what we were talking about is in the noise of the internet, how do you stand out from everybody else? Because there's 7.5 billion people on the planet, and it's hard to raise money if you look like everybody else.
Yeah.
And in the book at that time, we were talking about how certain people have an automatic elevated status, teachers, lecturers, speakers, and so forth, that, if you stand behind a podium at the front of the room, somehow you're supposedly better, brighter, smarter than everybody else. And podcasting came along as yet another way where you can elevate your own status. And as Dave's pointed out, you're not doing that by pointing to yourself. You're doing it by pointing to your guest. And again, I think that's so important to have a focus on how you can help the person who is your guest. And if you're raising funding, that's the person who can be your investor, because of the fact that you're taking the first step. You're helping them before you help yourself. You've put everything in the right sequence to build that relationship and establish a level of trust that can lead to the investment. So kudos to you, Dave, for a system that you have worked out and polished and refined to the point that you now offer it as a service to anyone who's out there who needs to build a book of accredited investors for their particular project or their ongoing business.
Thank you very much, Carl. That's high praise. I appreciate that.
Well, let's see. Let me flip back to the audience here. No more questions for today, but a lot of help out there. This will be recorded. It's going to be on LinkedIn and on YouTube, so it'll be there forever. And as Dave suggested, because of the fact I'm using Restream as a studio, my little studio as opposed to a different one, it creates its own automatic clips, but I'm going to provide Dave with a full audio recording. I'm going to provide him with the clips. Dave then, as a guest, can go back to any of his social media and he can pick and choose those moments where I praised him the most. And he can go, look, Carl said I'm a genius. And I go, yeah, I did. And there it is on tape. So he can put that out to show to other people that there are people in the industry who are, recognizing what he's done and his system for doing this, and promote himself beyond what he's already doing. So it basically is a reverb or a complementary type of promotion, and it gives more content. And to that point, a lot of people, when they say, well, who are you, on a bad day when I don't want to spend time answering the question, I said, just Google me. And they look at me kind of funny. And at that point, they do go put my name in Google, and about 90% of the people under Carl Dakin or me show up, from podcast newsletters, speaking engagements, and so forth. And a lot of the news people who write magazine articles who need to find an expert in a hurry, that's all they do. They'll put in a topic, and if your name pops up, you may be interviewed by a major magazine, which gives you even more status amongst everybody that's out there. And these are all things that help investors in particular. They're going, well, who is this person? Well, if you're Joe Nobody, because you've never been on a podcast, you've never been a guest, you've never written anything, you look through a LinkedIn profile and they've never posted anything, you're like, you're a ghost, or actually you may be fictional for all I know.
Yeah, these days you might be, exactly. Yeah.
I get a number of those where I'm like, yeah, sure, you work for a major company, and your second year you became the director of international operations. I don't think so. These are all indicators to people that show that you're a player, you're in position, you're knowledgeable, you're trying to help out, and these get you the level of trust that you're looking towards. So, Dave, thank you so much for being a guest on the program today. We'll be back next week on Successful Funding, where we're going to talk about your customers being investors, and drilling down into that place of raising funding from yet a different source. And your customers may not be accredited. In fact, there's a 97% chance they're not going to be accredited. So it's a different take on everything. Any last words, Dave, before we jump today?
Well, Carl, I just want to say thank you very much for what you do. I love what you do. I mean, some of the great creative ideas you shared on my show are so far out of the box. There is no box anymore. So absolutely love it. So keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for providing so much value, and thank you very much for having me on your show. It's an honor.
Well, thank you to everybody who was in the audience today. Thank you to everyone who's going to watch this in a recording at a later point in time, because you have busy schedules and not everybody can block out Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock every week to watch me and the guest on my show. So we will see you all later. Thank you, Dave. Hang on. As Dave says, we're going to talk after the show is over.